Hello, welcome back. So here's the next one that we're going to look at that I got recently. Hi-Fi amplifier, Pioneer A333. It must be cold out here, I can see my breath. 4.9 degrees in the workshop. But I can stand it for a few minutes at a time, and then go inside and come back out. Regularly, intervals, something like that. Anyway, I don't think it's one of the Pioneer's best examples. Hasn't got that same build quality that you used to get back in the 70s, early 80s. It's more built down to a price, I'd say. Probably came from the early mid-90s, something like that. But perfectly reasonable amplifier, and should be pretty good performance. And I've cleaned it up, but as I said in the last one, the amount of work I put into something is proportional to how much it's worth, or how much I'm getting paid. And this is just something to do, really, testing this amplifier out. Had a look on eBay, they're not worth much. So what can we say about it? It's got all the usual fairly normal connections and selections, and we got a few other buttons. We've got one down there for loudness, which lights up in red, and then you can turn that off again. And that one's direct, which means it bypasses the tone controls. So I know this thing's got problems, and I do recognise it because I've had it here before. And having done that introduction, I'm going back inside for a bit. Okay, where was I? Yeah, this amplifier I've seen before, and I'll show you what the problem was before, but it's the same problem again in a different way. But if I have it, I'll put some music for it. Okay, so there's nothing at all at the moment. If I press direct, great track there. Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Jackie Blue. What a name for a band, eh? I think they're still going. That was a minor hit in 1974. But the fact that it works on direct, bypassing all the other rubbish, and doesn't, I know exactly what the problem is, because it was the fault last time. I'll show you around the back. So this is the back of the unit, and what mystified me before was it was doing nothing whatsoever. It took me a while to work out what was wrong with it. You see these links here, labelled adapter. Well, basically they were missing completely, so no signal was getting through. That would be for something like a graphic equalizer to be plugged in. So, or you could use them as a preamp output or power amp input. So I actually made these links up out of brass rod. Quite a hard thing to do to get the actual spacing good and perfect. And I know this is playing up now. I'm not making contact properly. And I think it's going to be the same with all the other phono sockets. I think it's been left somewhere fairly damp, and I've got a bit of corrosion creeping in to those sockets. So what I need to do is clean those up, and the best way I found for doing that is brasso and a cotton bud, which of course won't go in there, but if you whittle it down a bit or pick some of the cotton away, you can get them to go in, and that is a good way I found of cleaning up RCA jacks. So that's what I need to do to get this thing in a fairly good state again. And also the outsides are quite corroded, tarnished anyway, so I'll give those, the outside connections, earth connections, a good clean as well, and then I think it'll work fine. Might clean these up a bit as well. They're not perfect, are they? That one's a bit longer on one side than the other, best I could do at the time. So I think I won't bore you with showing you all that, but I'll just do it and then we'll try it again. Okay, let's give it another try. Cleaned all those sockets up, and a bit more music. Cause many years from now there will be new sensations and new temptations. How does it feel? How does it feel? See if I can get a copyright strike on that one. Well, I don't get any money out of YouTube anyway. So that was another classic track from 75, I think, Slade. How does it feel? And what was it Noel Gallagher said? He thinks that was probably the best pop song ever written. And I kind of agree in some ways. Anyway, what we're going to do with it now? Yeah, well, it seems to be quite loud, but it would be, wouldn't it? It's supposed to be 40 watts a channel, and this is a fairly small room, and all the functions seem to be working. Loudness works, and balance and tone. I'm not even going to take the top off because there's nothing else wrong with it. None of the controls need spraying, they're all clean and working fine. So the only thing now left to do with it is to test it, see if it meets its specifications with power output and distortion. So I'll rig it all up and give it a test. So what we're going to do now is we're putting a signal in of 1 kilohertz 1 volt RMS from the HP audio analyzer, and that's going into the amplifier, and then the dummy load in over there. 2 8 ohm dummy loads, measuring both channels on the scope, only one channel on the audio analyzer. So what we're going to do then is we look at the scope screen and try and get that stable, and we want to crank it up for the peak power output. And as you can see, there are 2 traces, one's behind the other, so they're quite well matched, and we go right up until we reach clipping, which is about there, and quickly go up to the audio analyzer, which is measuring watts at the moment. So we're measuring nearly 55 watts. Turn it down again, don't like running it like that. 55 watts. Well, that I think is a pretty good result for an amplifier that's only supposed to be 40. So I'm quite impressed with that, 55 watts. But the next test as I usually do, is to test its total harmonic distortion. And how that works is, with this thing up here, it outputs a very, very low distortion sine wave, very pure sine wave, with virtually no harmonics at all. And then you connect that to this thing you're testing, and then what you do, then you measure the output from the amplifier, in this case, and it notches, the audio analyzer notches the 1 kHz fundamental tone, and it measures what's left behind, all the harmonics. So you're just measuring what's left after you remove the fundamental signal. But what we have to do now is we have to, I can get this stable. Right, no, dear. That's fairly stable. We need to measure it at its rated output, the distortion at its rated output. Well, it's rated at 40, so I'm going to turn it up till we get to 40, and it quickly goes over that. That'll do, 40 point whatever. So now I press distortion, 0.03. Okay, well it's not quite 0.02, but it's close enough for me. If I turn it down a bit, it doesn't make any difference. It's more or less the same. I can turn it right up to what it was before, full output 55, and then it goes up considerably as you get close to the absolute maximum. But 0.03 is a pretty good result for fairly cheap and cheerful amplifier. I don't know how much it would have been when it was new, but anyway, that's at the end of those tests, I think. And more or less the end of the video. It's working, that's the main thing. One thing I do quite like, it's got a half decent heatsink inside it. You can see the honeycombed heatsink, and a fairly decent amplifier. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but we shall see. Oh, I keep forgetting to say, if anybody's got anything they want to send me for repair, contact me by email. The email's on the About Me page on YouTube. And I think that's the end of the video for today. Time to get out the cold workshop. So bye for now.